All right, guys, welcome to the Talk Real to Me podcast. I'm your host, Macaulay Stahowski. Today, we have Dustin McAllister, also known as 3PO. He is a pilot for the U.S. Navy. Today's topic is rapid fire questions. Today, we're going to be going back and forth, asking each other some questions about each other. Hope you guys enjoy. Dustin, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm glad to be on.
Glad to have you on. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been in your career, anything that you feel is important. Go for it.
Absolutely. So I was born and raised in Indianapolis, Indiana. My mom and dad lived in the same house during the 18 years that I lived there in Indiana. I went to Purdue University, got a bachelor's degree there, and then eventually joined the Navy and essentially toured the world from there. I got two children, Kyler and Peyton, with my wife, Brianne, the owner of Topic Realty. And we've been here in Lemoore, or I've been in Lemoore since 2010. So I lucked out in terms of picking orders, being able to stay in the same location, which is different than the traditional route when you're in the Navy. And enjoying it.
How long have you been in Lemoore, NAS Lemoore?
So since 2010. Okay. So we're looking at 13 years. I've been stationed at NAS Lemoore itself.
Wow.
Yeah, that's quite a bit of time.
Not common.
No, it's not. Typically, you bounce around from different locations for job progression. But in my situation, I was able to find jobs that are available that work, and we were able to raise our children here in one location, which is awesome.
Awesome. What's your rank here?
So I'm a commander in 05, okay. And
retirement coming also. We could talk about that right off the bat. That's something to celebrate instantly.
Yeah, we're less than 2 months away from retirement. I will eventually have served 23 years, so it's been an amazing career.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's huge. Life after retirement.
Yeah, so we're going to look to stay here in Lemoore, actually. With Topic Realty, it's hard to pull the roots out of the ground and move somewhere else. So we're going to stay local and raise our children in the same house that we have been raising them in, and watch them grow in the Central Valley of California.
I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're from. Just what school did you go to? What hobbies do you like?
I love it. My name is Macaulay Stahowski. From Fresno, California, born and raised here. I am 30 years old. Just had my first daughter, first girl in almost 11 years, I want to say now, in the family. So she's getting spoiled right now. Went to San Joaquin Memorial High School. I actually went to Clovis West my freshman year and then transferred over to San Joaquin. And then ended up getting into the fire academy after I was waiting to get into it at Fresno City. And then it was about a 2-year wait list at the time when I was doing it. Everyone was wanting to get in there. It was a popular job here. And my family ended up moving to Georgia. My sister-in-law is in the Secret Service, so she was protecting Jimmy Carter out there. And they told me that I could get into schooling right away out there in the fire academy. So I ended up making my way out there, went to school, got hired after my first semester, got certified, and I was able to go to school, work, and, pay for whatever was needed just because I was working. And then ended up out there. I opened up my own business also while working at the fire department. I had two, it was full-time jobs basically. One was full-time pay, the other was part-time, but you're working like you're full-time. And then I renovated the whole inside of a school bus.
That's awesome.
Called it Stack 'em Up Mobile Entertainment. And I put video games on there. So there was 5 big screen televisions, and I ran that whole business while working. So I got rid of the part-time firefighting job at that point and was just working my full-time job and working the game bus on the side. And then my wife and I were at the point, that was my fiance at the time. We're at the point where family had moved away and we were trying to decide where we wanted to go after. And then instantly when Bran found out that we were looking, there was a job opportunity that I was going to be home often. So I decided to go ahead and look at that before making a full choice. Obviously at the fire department, as you know, your job specifically, you're gone for a long part of your kids' careers, life, whatever it may be. At the fire department, it's somewhat similar. You're gone 24 hours guaranteed. So whether it was Christmas, birthday, school events, if you're working, you're working. So I wanted a career to where I can bring my child with me. And so it ended up working out perfect. We came back. Now I'm in Hanford. Literally live about a mile down from downtown. And now I work for Top Hook Realty we're actually right at 2 years now. And I'm a buyer's agent for the most part. I deal with just buyers right now, building up my buying clientele to where hopefully it leads into sellers. And then eventually I'm just following a blueprint right now of what's been laid out for me. I feel like it's a massive puzzle that has been started with Bran. And I feel like I have some pieces to make it go just a little bit further and see where it can go. Obviously, it'd be great to have your kids, learn the process too, to where I can show them, hey, this is what I've done on top of what your mom has done. And we just keep that tradition going.
Awesome.
Yeah. So about your job, you're a pilot.
Yeah.
So what's the process of you becoming a pilot?
Yeah, there are actually multiple avenues you can go. The first thing you need to do is get a commission. If you're going to go Navy, you have to get a commission, become an officer for the Navy. There are a couple different ways of doing that. One is you can go to the Naval Academy, very competitive to get in, though. It takes lots of letters of recommendation and obviously high grades because your schooling is essentially paid for your 4 years of college. The other option is to do a ROTC program. Actually, Purdue had an ROTC program, nice. And you do that for the entire 4 years. And then at completion of your bachelor degree, you get a commission into the service. And the last option is actually to go to Officer Candidate School, which is essentially boot camp for the officers. It's 13 weeks. It used to be in Pensacola, but I think now it's in Rhode Island. And it's boot camp. So they really change you. For me, what I did is I went to Purdue, got an electrical engineering degree, and then went to OCS and got my commission. And then for pilot, what you have to do after that is you have to do 6 weeks of schooling. It's classes, kind of like college all over again, but it's very fast paced type studying and making sure that you can handle the workload. And then part of that 6 weeks is also 2 weeks of swim phys, which is, you get in the pool, make sure you can swim a mile. You do a lot of training with gear on yourself, boots, full flight suit, equipment. You do the dunker, which is one of the things that scares a lot of people, where you put blackout goggles on and they flip you upside down in the water, and you have a specific window or door to get out of the cockpit, whatever they have you in, and it freaks you out when you get flipped upside down. Wow. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. So you do 6 weeks. They make sure you pass the swim phys.
So everyone has to
Yes.
go through the dunker in order.
Yes, and actually it's every 4 years for aviators.
Wow.
Because when you're flying off of a carrier, there are times where you have to fly in a helicopter to go to and from shore, or in a COD, which is a carrier onboard delivery.
Okay.
C2 or CMV-22, which it is now. So if for some reason you're in the water, you have to know how to get out. And so that's part of the training.
Wow.
So after the 6 weeks, then you go to primary flight school. That's about 9 months. You fly, I flew the T-34. It's a turboprop single engine plane. tandem cockpit. But now it's a T6 Texan. Again, it's a turboprop tandem cockpit plane, and then you branch off from there upon graduation based on what you would like to do, needs of the service, which actually comes first, and what's available in terms of the options you have, such as going helicopter, large plane, or jets. And then from there, you branch off and go and fly at a different command. For me, for jets, you have to go down to Kingsville, Texas, and fly the T-45 for about another year. Learn that aircraft, and you do lots of missions. You actually do your first carrier qualification there. And then from there, you select, if you're jets, you select either F-18, F-35, or the Growler, the E-18G, which is out of Whidbey Island. And then you get there and you do about another year of syllabus, learning that your particular aircraft for the fleet. And then once you have graduated the FRS, the Fleet Replacement Squadron, now you eventually go to your actual squadron that you'll be assigned to for actual deployments and do what you actually trained to do. And so it's about a 3 to 4 year process.
Wow.
Getting there.
On top of your 4 years of
education.
Yes. Yeah.
So you're in school quite a bit. It is, quite intensive.
Right. Yeah. I want to hit on the dunking, you being upside down. What is your mental state of what you need to do in that instance? A lot of people don't think, my mind instantly goes to someone's crashed. You guys are over the ocean. What's your mindset when you are training like that? Is that what you are thinking? Like, hey, this is obviously a Mayday situation, correct?
Right. Yeah. And the dunker is, it's one of those things that you never have to actually do in real life. But there are people that I know actually had to bail out of a helicopter or in a plane when it went in the water. So it's training you have to do, and it's important that you take it seriously because you could potentially have to use that one day. Mindset wise, honestly, when I'm doing it, I'm like, I just want to get this thing over with. So you really focus, you focus on what you're doing and make sure you don't screw it up so you don't have to do it a second time. Because if you don't go out the right window, or you take your goggles off, or you get stuck, you have to do it all over again.
You're fatigued too.
Yes.
That second time around.
Yes.
Wow. That's cool. That's a unique experience, I feel. I didn't know that, pilots had to go.
Oh yeah, and it's every 4 years. For the requalification, you're not doing a mile swim or anything, but you have I think it's like 100-yard swim with all of your gear on, and you have to manually inflate your bladder, your blow up thing that keeps you afloat.
Okay.
You have to manually inflate it, and in order to do that, with all of your gear on, your boots on, everything, flight gloves, helmet, you have to manually inflate that, and you don't typically float with all that until you blow that bladder up. So it is quite challenging,
intensive,
but it's
very intense.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I love it.
All right, so for you, Macaulay, what made you decide real estate was what you want to do as a career?
I would have to say I'll hit back on bringing family to the job. I missed out on a lot of stuff at the fire department to where I was at the point where I loved it. I feel like firefighting is a single man, single family job, to where if you don't, have kids or things that you don't want to worry about missing, us, we're very family orientated, to where I knew if I was missing my daughter or son's future games, that was going to eat at me. I saw a lot of my lieutenants and captains and chiefs missing out on stuff like that. And they were 15 years into the job and it was eating at them. I saw one of my lieutenants was crying literally because he missed his kid hit a single, and I was like, ooh, like it just gave me chills. It still does, to where at that point, that's when I started looking at my career different, to where I was like, all right, I'm getting to the point in my life, I'm about to be getting married here soon. And I was like, career wise, I knew something different was going to happen. But I also loved my job on top of it. I just loved the purpose of the job. I was very motivated, throughout my time, but then my motivation changed once I was like, oh, do I want to do this long term at 15 years? Do I want to, be that lieutenant or captain that's like, oh, we're missing this for family or whatever it may be. So at that time, real estate, that was easy. I remember calling Brian and saying that that's a career that I want to look at. And how was it as far as being around kids? And she's like, they go with me everywhere. At that point, it was more of a green light to where my mindset opened to real estate, and I just didn't know anything about it. So knowing that she was in it for 20 plus years at the time, I knew I was going to have good coaching. And then also going through the process of buying when we were long distance. So Kaylee and I bought our home in Georgia. We were long distance. I saw how she did that whole process, and she told me.
You bought your home here?
Here in Hanford. Yeah. We were in escrow during COVID, driving across country. We never walked a foot in our home. And the way that Brianne made us feel like we were home already, and she said, hey, watch how I do this. She treated us like a client to kind of set the standard at like, hey, this is what you're going to go through. We did have the benefit of the paperwork side, not really worrying about that too much. So she said, hey, don't worry about that. Just worry, do you like the home? And so FaceTime, videos were huge, pictures, any updates that were going on. I watched her through that process of like, hey, this is this is the job I'm going to get into. What do I have to do? And she really set that standard as we were moving across country. So I was able to at least walk into some kind of training just by watching. Oh, it was cool. It was unique. And then I also did the schooling out there in Georgia too at the time. So I was able to finish that. That way when I came here, unfortunately, like I said, I moved during COVID. So testing was backed up multiple months before I got here. I also failed my first time on the real estate test. It got me. I thought I was prepared. I was not at all. And then when I went in and took it that second time, I had to wait another 3 months just because COVID. So right now I'm seeing a lot of people that are wanting to get into real estate that have failed, and then they'll call me and I recommend a YouTube video to them. And there's multiple videos that they can end up watching through that YouTube channel. And then a good I'm at about 75% right now. People call me back and they're like, thanks. That video helped me pass. So
that's awesome.
It's just different ways that I like real estate, different ways to learn, basically.
I feel you have to have a certain personality in order to be a real estate agent. And I think both you and Brianne have that. I don't know if it runs in the family or not, but you definitely have to have a specific personality to be successful in real estate. So.
Yes, it's definitely a people pleasing, but in a good way. That's what we are. You've seen, we like to help others and then not have to look back for a return. We just do it. And then I think it's people pleasing in the right way. As long as you do it the right way is what we tell people. We'll give the shirt off of our back instantly for any one of our clients, friends, family, to where our clients turn to family easily. Mm-hmm. And I saw that too from Brianne when I first started. My first time really noticing what was going on is when we're having to deliver 200 plus poinsettias during Christmas. And I'm just getting started at this point. And I was like, what's going on? There's a full semi truck pulling into your guys' neighbor or your house, and boxes of poinsettias just keep coming out. I'm sitting there. I'm like, wow, these are a lot of poinsettias. And then it got to the point where I'm helping deliver these poinsettias. And I was like, this is a month process of us just going out, and it's a tradition. So now I love it. We look forward to it as a brokerage now. It's something we're like, hey, we know this is coming. This is what we have to do. Luckily I'm not at the numbers yet that Brianne are, to where I'm like, oh, here, I'll give my 20 clients something here and I'm done, within a week or two. Fortunately, I have those clients to where now I call Brianne, and if she needs help, she'll let me know. But the part I love about her, she's usually the one that is handing that stuff out. Kind of, like I said, setting that standard of, hey, if you want to be successful, you really do have to work in this job. You have to have a very good game plan, stick to it, and then also be there for your clients and your family at the same time. It is a lot. It can be stressful. but I do feel that our family's built in this kind of mindset where we get up and we go. You know, what do we have planned today, or what's planned next week? You see it. You know, you're part of it too. The calendar that we have is always filled with something. Sometimes it's overwhelming.
Yeah, I think both you and Brienne truly love what you do. You truly love your careers, and that goes a long way. You know, not everyone can say that. So
yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I know she will too. The grind of it is always the fun part.
Yeah,
there's an end in sight somewhere. We just don't know where it's at in real estate. I describe it too as chasing a check. You know, this is the definition of it. Starting out, you know, you're going through, and it's okay if you don't have closings planned. I have accepted that to where if you don't have buyer, now you're chasing someone. Hey, look at what I've done. Look at where I'm established. You're selling yourself to an extent. That you're chasing a lot, and that's what I like about the job. You know, it's not an 8 to 5 to where, you know, your weekends are, oh shoot, I got work tomorrow and it's Sunday and you're worried about it. I like the fact that how hard you work you'll see the benefit in it. If you aren't working hard, or you're a half-time employee in real estate, you don't get the full benefits or the joys that come with it. To where if you're fully committed, there's a lot of positive that can come out of it. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Question about jets. I'm coming back to it. Can a jet still fly if the engine has failed?
It depends on what aircraft you're flying.
All right. So let's hit 2 topics on that.
Okay. Talk
about the jets that you have flown to.
Okay. So like I said earlier, the first aircraft I flew, actually, before you even start flight school, they do what's called IFS, or introductory flight screening, where the Navy pays you to get 20 hours in a Cessna or a Cessna equivalent type aircraft to make sure that you actually want to do this as a career. So my first aircraft I flew was a Cessna 152, which is a single engine plane, top wing, it's a regular civilian plane. After that, I flew the T-34 Turbo Mentor, which is a single engine turboprop. Then the T-45, which is a single engine jet. And then from there, I went to the F-18 FRS. So I flew the Super Hornet, both the E and F models, nice. Which is a single seat or 2-seat models. Did that for a few tours. When I went back to the FRS as an instructor, I flew the Super Hornet again, but I was also flying the Legacy at that point, which is F-18 A through D, which is the aircraft that the Super Hornet actually replaced. And then from there, I flew I've been flying the F-35 Charlie, which the Charlie is the Navy version of the F-35.
Okay.
So
I love it. So you've been through, technology now, I'd imagine it's changed from when you first started to the F-35 now.
Absolutely. Even the training aircraft that I flew is completely different. Like T-34 is no longer an aircraft that you train in. They still have them in the Navy for other reasons, but not for training pilots. It's the T-6 Texan, which is a much more advanced aircraft compared to the T-34. And then the T-45, I flew, it was not a glass cockpit, meaning, electronic displays with a heads-up display. It was actually gauges, the T-45 Alpha model, which is actual steam gauges, essentially. So technology has changed over the year, for sure.
I love it. That's cool. There's been a couple things that you've described to me just throughout, seeing you as far as the helmets and stuff like that, to where technology now is just, it blows my mind that the way that it's being built now. Obviously, the cost is way up there. I was looking at, it was an aircraft. It was like $13.3 billion, our most recent one. The U.S. Gerald R. Ford, I think, is
the aircraft carrier.
Yeah, yes. And that was $13.3 billion to build. So
Yes.
I'm assuming the technology is upgraded on those also.
The Ford class carriers, yes, absolutely. That's actually the newest carrier. I have not been on it. Actually, it has not even been on deployment yet. They're going through the cycle before its first maiden deployment. But the technology on that carrier itself is one of a kind, essentially. The catapults are no longer steam catapults on that carrier. They're it's magnetic.
Oh wow!
Which is completely different and a different setup than all the other carriers I've flown off of. 3 wires, vice 4 wires strewn across the ship. A lot of different changes.
That's cool. That's unique. I was reading that it was delayed. It's supposed to be, out there on deployment for a while, but we're getting close to it from what you're hearing.
Yeah. It's out of the yards. It's going through its workup cycles. Cool. It definitely delayed, and that's because of those technology advances. Like there are no electromagnetic catapults out there. The Ford is the first one, and this is the new class ship. So any carriers to follow will be built like that Ford, and it's called the Ford class.
Got it. Got a couple more questions I want to hit with you real quick before we got to get out of here. Tell us some positives and negatives. 1, about deployment, and 2, having a working spouse the way you do. What are some pros and cons that you have to both of those? Obviously, some spouses are stay at home. That kids are well taken care of, guaranteed. Schools, no worries. Just explain the deployment side, pros and cons, and then the pros and cons of both having a working spouse the way that you do.
Sure. For the Navy, you're on the ship for anywhere between 6 and 8 months. Here recently, the deployments have been somewhere around 8 months. And you're not on the ship the entire time. You pull in the port approximately every month, so long as if you're out of COVID. There were a couple deployments during COVID where the crew never actually pulled into port. You're out to sea for the entire 8 months, which is unfathomable to even think that. So yeah, life has to go on back at home. Brienne, with her working, she had no one really to, especially Macaulay, when you were not here, she had no one other than friends to really lean on and help out around the house. So that's one of the negatives is if you're working a full-time career, you don't have the full support structure of having family and the husband or wife, for that matter, to help you out 50% at the house. And if an emergency happens, it's not as easy as picking up the phone and calling your spouse because your spouse is underway on the ship. Email may or may not be working that day, depending on where you are. There are some times where you can do FaceTime, but you have to be in the right location, and the ship has to have good satellite service. So the positive, obviously, money is not really that big of a factor, but there are a lot of sacrifices that go in with that. And then also, of course, the spouse that is on deployment misses all of those significant milestone events that you were just talking about during your firefighter career. For those 8 months, essentially everything's got to be recorded on the camera or video, and the person that's on deployment is actually not present in any of those pictures.
Right.
But that's the sacrifice that we signed up to do. We do these deployments for a reason. We're out there protecting America. Yeah. It's not just fun and games. There's a purpose to it. And
your spouse signs up for that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're part of that. I think the part that I've learned that I love right now is you guys obviously get your retirement party, but I'm noticing she's getting one also. The spouses get their own little retirement. I love that, because you guys are in that together. It is a lot of sacrifice on both ends to where it's worth it now, or at least I think that's how you feel at retirement. Hey, we're done. We're no more 7 to 9 month things going on. So I think that is the cool side is once you find your group, your people, like you said, your friends in real estate, that's real, or your friends in your career. it's important to have them there in your corner, especially to celebrate at the very end.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool.
I'm looking forward to it.
Cool.
For you as a real estate agent, what advice would you give to those that say are in high school right now and they're considering real estate or being a real estate agent for their career? What advice would you give them?
I love that. That's a good question. I actually do get this often. So I tell people I'm in a different situation when it comes to real estate. I am very active right now. I'm in a home guaranteed at least 2 or 3 times through the week. During COVID, I tell people I was in a home often, 5, 6 times a week. It was very rare for me to have a day off to where I wasn't inside of a home inspection. So what I tell people is my scenario is different. They'll always see me posting on social media that I'm picking up, taking down a sign, doing an agent visual inspection. What I tell them is go find a brokerage that is for you, a brokerage that is, if you want to be involved in the community, go find a brokerage that does that. Not all brokerages want that. You have internet-based brokerages now that your broker, it's hard to get a hold of. I want to say Real, they just posted that they had 10,000 agents now that are local to a certain state, and it's only one broker. So now I tell people, if you can succeed in that, go for it. If you feel confident to where you can just sit there and do that stuff on your own, go ahead, do that. But if you want to be able to call your broker or go over and have a training with your broker, go and meet them before just saying, yeah, I'm going to go with 3 Max, Century 21. Go meet the agents. Hey, are these people like me? Are these people family orientated? Are they business orientated? Depending on how you want to do it, are they investing? Like, are they hardcore into rentals? There's so much in real estate that you can pick and choose from. But you also have to have the mindset of what you want to get into before just going and picking anything. So that would be my first thing. Go meet the broker. And then it comes down to, having to pay certain fees when it comes to it also. So you got to make sure that stuff weighs out. Brokerages charge their certain amount. So now you're sitting there asking, hey, if they take 40% of my check or 30, 20, whatever it may be, is this going to be okay with me and my family when it comes time to pay at the end of it, every transaction? And then lastly, I'd probably say is career-wise, if it's something you see yourself long-term or short-term, you have to ask yourself, do I really want to be in the grind and hustle of being competitive? This is a competitive career to where it can be degrading to people. And I think the best part, fortunately for me, I don't look at competition, is I've been handed a position here to where I can watch and learn. So when you walk into your position, what is your role for that team? Are you going to be just a buyer's agent? Are you going to be just the media side of things? There's different avenues that you can take and learn. Are you just going to be in the back, like Brand started, in the back of an office, just sorting out mail and listening and watching? So there's different avenues that you can take. So just decide on that beforehand. And then once you're committed to that brokerage, it's now, hey, what can I do to help us be better? On top of yourself, obviously. And then networking from there. Networking is the biggest thing, is what I tell people at the end of it. After you pick your brokerage, network. Not just, you want to network with your own team more than anything. That's your most important side, is the family side of your company. And then once you start networking, they'll let you know, hey, these people are good people. The downside of real estate is there's some that come in that unfortunately just don't have the training. So your coworkers can tell you, hey, this person's good, or hey, we got to be more cautious in our transaction for this one. So you'll at least have the right coaches in it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Last question for you.
Okay.
We'll end it on this. So you've seen Top Hook literally from the start to today. Tell us some pros that you've seen from when Brianne first opened the brokerage to where we are right now currently. We have a whole podcast going. So explain, just the pros that you see coming for the future.
Sure. Well, I'll start off with, I remember us Brian and I being in the living room and talking about, the day that we actually open up, she opens up her own company and she's working for herself and not for a different brokerage. I remember that day, and really it was her goal that initially she was not very confident she could do, and I was kind of the supportive person saying, hey, you can actually do this, and we really talked through it. So that was really, really cool to see. Benefits, you're working essentially for yourself or for the employees that work under you. So you have an impact on where the company goes and its future, how this business is shaped. Really, she does this she focuses on clients and making sure the clients turn into essentially family. It's not a numbers game to Brienne. It's more of the interaction and the relationship she builds with her clients, and all the agents that work for her or with her have that same mentality. They're not looking for the most transactions in the year or whatnot. It's about building a relationship, and Topic Realty is known for that. That's why Topic Realty is so small in terms of number of agents that work for the business. We don't have 10,000 agents. Right. It's more focused on relationships with the clients and relationships with the staff, the real estate agents that work with Top Hook, and making sure everyone's taken care of, because it's more of a family mindset.
Right.
So owning your own business, obviously you determine what path you take. It's Brienne, if you ask her, she's not out to make $10 million. It's more of making a career for herself, something that she can, make her own hours and guide in a route that works for her and the agents that work under her, and make sure everyone is happy. So
I love it. Well, Dustin, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, taking time out of your day to do this. We appreciate you here at Top Hook, and as a family, obviously we appreciate you more on that aspect, but thank you for swinging on by, and thank you for your service. We'll end it with a happy retirement. We're excited to celebrate you here on June 9th.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem, Dustin. Have a good day.